Honestly, going from a size 24 to a size 4, I knew would not magically make all of my self-esteem and body image issues disappear. But knowing that logically and actually like walking that out and experiencing it are two very different things. So on this 4-year anniversary of my food addiction recovery journey, I thought maybe we would just kind of explore that a little bit. That's when the Lord told me 4 years ago that I had a food addiction, and He invited me into this process of obedience and surrender. That yes, it was about weight loss. Well, I hoped that it would be about weight loss, right? When you're 267 pounds, like, you know, you're not really that healthy. And I have a healthy relationship with food. I didn't have a healthy relationship with my body. I wanted to and needed to lose weight. These last 4 years have been the most incredible journey, but also really gosh darn challenging in other ways. When I first started this, if you've watched any of my other videos, I said that when I started this process, I didn't care what the number was on the scale at the end. Like, wherever my body landed, wherever I ended up being healthy, because I never had been a healthy weight, so I didn't know what healthy was for me, that I would be okay. And the number on the scale has not moved in the last 2 years, which, if I'm honest with you, has been incredibly frustrating. Especially because last summer I had skin removal surgery, which I'll talk about in just a minute, but my plastic surgeon took 6 pounds of skin. 6 pounds of skin, folks! How is it, like, even mathematically possible to have 6 pounds of skin removed from your body and still be the same weight? And every time I get frustrated or I get down, I have to go back to, what was the purpose of this journey, Matina? Was it about losing weight? Was it about hitting a certain number on the scale so you can have this really nice, pretty story that says you lost half of your body weight for, People magazines, half their size sort of thing? Or was it about living a life in freedom? And if you are experiencing freedom and health and wholeness and vibrancy in your life, and the number on the scale hasn't moved, like, really, what's more important? I'm growing in my self-esteem and feeling more confident to step outside my comfort zone, to try things that I might not have tried before. Recall several years ago, before this whole process started, where I was going out line dancing with my sister and some friends, and I love line dancing, but I was so caught up in my head about how my outfit looked on me, and could people notice when I was, dancing around and my fat was jiggling all over the place. And like, I was so caught up in my head that I couldn't just enjoy that experience. Fast forward to a few years ago when I started a new job, and we were going around the room kind of introducing ourselves. And I remember thinking, I need to tell my coworkers that I am in recovery, because so much of what happens in life in our culture centers around food. And I am working in residential life where we're going to be eating together, and we're about to go on this like camping trip where we're going to be buying groceries, and people need to know the way that I eat. And I don't think I ever would have felt comfortable or confident in saying, I'm in recovery and these are the things I eat and these are the things that I don't. I would have wanted to keep anything that had to do with food, body image, weight, all of that to myself. But I had walked enough of my journey to know that it's not something to be ashamed of. So I said it. Part of that first week of work was going on a hiking camping trip with our student leaders. Now, I am not a hiker. I don't particularly love outdoorsy things. And as you've heard before, I don't really exercise very much, if at all. So when I was told we're going on this hike, literally every alarm bell in my brain went off. I was like, oh no, this is not something I can do. It brought back, flooding back, all of these memories of growing up when I felt inadequate, when I felt not enough, when my weight got in the way of me being able to do things. I thought to myself, you are not that same person, Matina. Remember where you've come from. Remember what you're walking in now. Okay, I'm not going to be in my head. I'm going to just be present. Because what happens when we're so caught up in that shame bubble and those negative self-esteem, negative body image feelings is we aren't able to just be present with our experiences. And I really wanted to be present, right? I had been on this job, like, I think this was day 1 or 2. I was meeting new coworkers, meeting new student leaders. I was like, Kate, this is it. You can do it. I was totally psyching myself up for this hiking trip. And I had kind of been upfront that I'm like not really a hiker, but I thought, okay, Martina, you can do it. You can do it. So we start on this trip and all of the like positive messages. You can do this, Martina. And here's the thing, just because you're experiencing some newfound self-confidence does not magically like make your cardio abilities go up. So I get partway into this hike, probably not even very far, and I start to have a panic attack because I realize this is too much for me. And as much as I was trying to psych myself up and have this positive, self-confidence, whatever, like my mindset and where my body were not matching up. I probably made it a heck of a lot farther than I would have pre-recovery, right? 267-pound Martina honestly wouldn't have even gotten in the car to go up. I would have found some sort of excuse, like I would have felt bad about it. I would have felt bad about myself, but there is no way in heck I would have put myself even remotely near that hike. So when I start to have this panic attack in front of all of my brand new coworkers and student leaders, all of that negativity came flooding back again, which I had to take control of and remind myself again, this is not the same scenario. So here I am having my panic attack. My boss, so nice, decides to walk me back to the car. In the midst of my, panic attack, embarrassment, whatever, I trip on a root and fall face down, completely on my face in the middle of this trail. Yeah, that does wonders for one's self-esteem and confidence. But here's the thing, is I went on the hike. I tried, and I wouldn't have ever tried before. This last year, it's been a lot of like, okay, this is now your life. How are you going to walk it out even when the scale no longer moves? Because it's really, I wouldn't say easy, because nothing about setting down your food is easy. But it's one thing when you're like actively in that process and you're losing weight and you're seeing things change on the scale and your body and the way that your clothes fit. And I remember the first time that I could no longer shop in a plus size store. And part of me was like, whoa, I have to, this is no longer a thing. But also part of me was really sad because I really liked the clothes in that store. And clothes shopping for me for so many years was painful. I can recall times in high school when I'd go out shopping with friends and everybody would be like, trying on different things. And I knew that none of those clothes were gonna fit me. I just knew it. But, we're in high school and we're hanging out and we got dropped off at the mall or whatever. And so I would just buy stuff to go along with it, knowing full well that I would go back and return that stuff because I couldn't shop in the junior section because those clothes didn't fit me. So this last year, after I had skin removal surgery, I went into a store, I just picked something up off the rack, I put it on and it fit. Like, I wasn't having to hide rolls of skin. Something in me that was so incredibly excited and proud. The thing, it's not a weight loss plan or program. It's not a diet thing. It is an act of obedience that the Lord has asked me to do, which means He is the one who is directing and guiding this whole thing. If I take back those reins, if I say, this is the box I'm gonna live in, and I'm never gonna eat this, and I'm never gonna do that, then it becomes Martina being in control again. And as an Enneagram 1, I like rules, I like structure, I like boundaries, but also when I cross those things, when I do something wrong, it fuels shame and judgment and a really harsh inner critic negative voice, which for an addict, that's not a good place to be. When you're feeling shame and self-judgment and self-criticism, it pushes you into isolation, it pushes you back into your addiction. It's all bad news bears from there. Right? There are still times when I look in the mirror and all I see are the imperfections. Even after having plastic surgery last summer and removing all of this extra skin, I still look at my body and I'm like, oh, there's that pudge. Oh, there's that roll. Ooh, right? I'm human. But when I get into that mindset, I have to quickly pull myself back out because I don't want to get so focused on just what my body looks like. That's just as dangerous of a place as focusing on what the scale says. What I have to to focus on is my heart in the right place? Is my mindset in the right place? Because if I'm feeling frustrated and upset with the way that my body looks or the way that I'm feeling about my body because I've started to binge on some foods that I probably shouldn't, because I've stopped working my recovery in the way that I should, because I've stopped spending time with the Lord daily, like, to me, the way that I feel about myself and my body, I don't want to get focused or hung up on those things. They do tell me something. So when I start to feel that way, I have to take a step back and say, why? Is this just my own like negative mindset coming up? Is this my own comparison coming up? Or feeling that way because I'm not fully walking in obedience. I've taken back control. I have to look at those things. A big part of this last year, like I said, has been this surgery that I had. It really caused me to think for a minute about, would I rather have this loose skin or would I rather have this scar? Right? When I look in the mirror, when I'm thinking about how I perceive my body, how do I feel about having a scar? Now, honestly, it wasn't about the scar itself, but about what the scar represented. That I had let myself get to this point of gaining so much weight that I ended up having to have skin removal surgery. And I didn't want to look in the mirror every day and see a scar and be reminded of that, because that's part of it. But the bigger part, the part that won out, is that the scar is a representation of my victory in Christ. That I chose to actually listen to him when he said, Martina, you have a food addiction. And I pressed into what that meant. And I choose every day. Some days it's harder than others, but I choose to say, your will, not my will. That when somebody now says to me, Martina, you look good, they're not just talking about my clothes or my weight. What they're talking about is this joy and confidence that now exudes from within me because of what God has done in my life. Every one of our journeys is different. Don't allow yourself to slide or to kind of give yourself this room to fudge if God has asked you to do certain things. But know that freedom is just amazing. That now when I look in the mirror, while sometimes I get frustrated with the way my body looks, I'm proud of my body. I'm proud of the body that God has given me. I'm proud that I am working to steward it well. And I love living this joy-filled, confident, free life.